Everybody, what's going on? I'm Fabian for Liberty, Fabian Calvo. FabianForLiberty.com is my website. So before I get into what I think is pretty much breaking news, a major announcement by the Russian military, or actually not the Russian military, by one of the Russian military-industrial complex weapons manufacturers, I find the timing of this extremely interesting. Just want to let everybody know they could check out if you're interested. You know, obviously I talk often about financial markets, different opportunities out there. I'm big into real estate, as many of you know, and I know I've been getting a lot of new subscribers to the channel. You can check out resourcefulrealestateacademy.com. That's resourcefulrealestateacademy.com. We just added a new sequence, these 4 free training videos that break down the 4 new rules of real estate that I think are, well, I know I'm the only person that's teaching them, and it's nothing that it's about me. It's just I'm surprised because this is, I think, in the virtual world, the way to monetize the housing market, both in the current manipulated bubble that we are in, which is no question about it. I was just got back from Florida, and home prices over there are going absolutely buck wild. I'm back in California, and prices here as well are going crazy. And as I've said many times, I speak to several dozen real estate agents across the country, and they all say the same exact thing. So I find that you know, pretty interesting, right? And I've been calling this, it's nothing new. I've been calling this now for 3 or 4 years, that we would get to prices that would surpass 2007, 2008 levels. And we're certainly getting close to that period of time. Now, also, it's going to be the biggest collapse in housing prices and a lot of other multi-bubble assets as well when this thing does crash. I've said for some time, I think we're 12 to 24 months away. I keep delaying that because of the extraordinary measures taken by the criminal banks on Wall Street and their cronies at the Federal Reserve and other central banks around the world as they continue to manipulate the market upwards using fake panics like this thing in Greece, which again, Greece accounts for less than 2% of the EU's global economic output, but they're totally freaking out. However, I know that the inside baseball is they're not really freaking out, right? Because I speak to some of these hedgies, and I know that you know, they all see it as an opportunity. Markets are panicked. Is it really that significant overall in the big scheme of things? It's not, but it does give the ECB and it does give other central banks the green light, if you will, to begin to print more money, lower interest rates even more, go into negative interest rates, and more importantly, go to a bail-in type strategy where they can recapitalize their toxic debts, stealing your money in the bank. Okay, let's get into Russia's major announcement. Again, the military-industrial complex in Russia's major announcement, which is this new Russian super weapon that they happen to just, you know, I think it was the London Telegraph came out with the story. It's capable of switching off foreign satellites and enemy weapons, can suppress cruise missiles, which of course is one of the main weapons in the arsenal of the West, particularly the United States. It's mounted on jets and warships, and it's really a new revolutionary type weapon if it's true, or if it's capable of what they say it is. I'll just say that, you know, clearly I've been talking a lot about the potential for World War III, the saber rattling taking place between NATO and the West and Russia and China. And I always give this disclaimer, and I'll say it again. Look, I don't want World War III. I hope I'm completely wrong about all this stuff. I have 2 small children. I want them to grow up in a country with peace and prosperity. Unfortunately, we have a lot of megalomaniac, psychopathic nut jobs that run not only the U.S., but run pretty much the West. And they're on the warpath. I mean, the drums are beating, and they, in my opinion, continue to provoke Russia and provoke China by meddling in their affairs, when the truth is we can't even keep out criminal illegals that are flooding our southern border, that are really operating with impunity. You see this guy up in San Francisco that murdered this young lady, had been deported 5 times and had 7 warrants against him. Okay, so we can't protect ourselves against that, or have a government that's actually one of the responsibilities is to protect our borders. They can't even do that. All right, it's pretty despicable. But I find the timing of this very interesting. As you know, I often say everything goes down to economics. We have Greece. It looks like, and I've said, look, I think they're going to stay in the EU. The only reason they would leave the EU is because of the fact that they've already had a deal with Russia and China. Maybe they're just delaying it. As of today, Greek banks had about $55 million left in operating capital. It's about $50 per Greek. They need $55 billion to recapitalize their banks, and the European Central Bank has basically closed the release valve of the emergency cash that they give Greek banks. So the situation is still somewhat dire. Ultimately, I think they stay in. But certainly, I think that Russia is positioning itself in a world where America's influence and its ability to police the world as it perhaps did in the 20th century is obviously dwindling. And when the real economic crisis hits our shores, I think that's when you're going to see countries like Russia and China really explode with their with what I think is their agenda. I mean, I think Russia does want to recapture some of these former Soviet satellites back into the fold. In fact, just a few weeks ago, you had the equivalent of the Russian Attorney General basically saying that, look, countries like Lithuania and Latvia that left the former Soviet Union, we're reviewing to see if that was even legal. So yeah, those countries are kind of freaked out. And if you take polls in those countries, there's not a majority, but there's a significant amount of people that welcome going back to Russia and leaving leaving the fold of the EU and of the West. And clearly that's happened in Ukraine, where Eastern Ukraine identifies with Russia and would rather be under Russian sovereignty, if you will. So again, you know, it's interesting because the U.S. military still remains the strongest in the world, but I don't want people to get stuck in this normalcy bias that that's always going to be the case, right? When the bankruptcy of the West is known to everyone, you're not going to be able to really continue to finance and fund some of the most strategic weapons in the world. A country like Russia doesn't necessarily have the debt problems nor the unfunded liability problems that America does. China is a different story. They have major, major problems and will likely enter into a depression the likes of the U.S. depression in the 1930s. But I think overall, to quote George Soros, they will be the new engine of growth. So love to hear your feedback on what you think regarding the advancements, really not just with the Russian military, but we look at China in the, I think it's the Stratway Island, 600 miles off the coast of China, mainland China, where they basically built an island. It's now a military base armed to the teeth, and they are obviously expanding their influence militarily through a region they believe they have the right to control. Love to hear your feedback. Again, I'm Fabian Calvo, Fabian for Liberty. Remember, check out resourcefulrealestateacademy.com for my 4 new training videos. And also this Friday, I'll be hosting a new webinar on the 4 new rules of real estate. I'll post a link down below for you could opt in. Thanks for watching. I'm out.